أمة غراء خيار الله في الأمم
لأنك أمة أخرى ستمحو سالف الظلم
لأنك أمة أخرى ستمحو سالف الظلم
ستمحو سالف الظلم
لأنك أمة المحيا مثل النار في
I'll fight you. That's what you wanted to hear, isn't it? You want me to fight you? Finish, Mr. Policeman. You want to get big and get some stars? Yes, sir, no, sir. I'll bow this to Allah, to Allah.
فعل الآكر النهم ألا يا أمتي صبرا ألا يا أمتي صبرا
The difference between me and you is faith. The difference between me and you is trying to join around for big evil. The difference between me and you, I live for the sake of God and you live for the sake of the devil.
فدكيها متى الصنم ألا يا أمتي صبرا فعين الله لم تنم بروق الفجر قد لاحت فدكيها متى الصنم فدكيها متى الصنم فدكيها متى الصنم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers, whenever we study about Allah Azza wa Jal, we need to understand He has particular asma and particular sifat. He has particular names and particular attributes. And we always say that those names and attributes, they're exclusive to Him alone. One of those names is that Allah, He is Al-Wadud, that He is the loving. And the love of Allah Azza wa Jal is not the way the Nasara, the Christians, they comprehend it. Neither is it the love the way the Jews, they comprehend it, if they even comprehend that, because they're Jews in the first place. Anyway, yeah. But the fact of the matter is that Allah, He does have love, and He is the loving. It's His name. He is Al-Wadud. And He loves who? He loves the believers. And He hates those who are the disbelievers. That's why the ayah said in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فإن الله عدو للكافرين. Allah said about Himself, He said, I am an enemy to the disbelievers. Where we have a misunderstanding or where we go wrong, when we understand this concept of love, of al-hub, in regards to Allah Azza wa Jal as His name or His attribute, is that we start to ourselves not adopt that or not love for His sake, who Allah, He ordered us to love. And for His sake, we must understand that the love is established. And for His sake, we must hate as well. That concept is known as al-wala wal-bara. So where we go wrong, or where we have this deviation, is that we start to say, we hate shirk, we hate kufr, but we start to love the kafir. We start to love the mushrik, and we start to love the shirk. We start to love the mushrik, excuse me. Whereas Allah Azza wa Jal, not only does He hate the shirk, not only does He hate the kufr, He also hates the kafir, and He also hates the mushrik. The reason why I mention this is because that is very intertwined with our topic of al-takfeer. It cannot be you recognize all of those things which take you outside the fold of Islam, yet you don't want to make any application. There's no process of applying the takfeer to any particular individual. And we discussed this in the last session about the consequences of not making takfeer. And that was one of those points, but I thought I would just mention that. So we mentioned now that nawabid al-takfeer, the framework of takfeer, it has a purpose, and that is to establish that someone, he committed that ithbat, the ithbat al-kufr, or the ithbat al-hujjah. You want to establish ithbat al-hujjah, that the person, he did do the kufr. And also then you want to establish qiyam al-hujjah, which is to check if he doesn't have any preventions. And then that is the entire process of takfeer nawa and takfeer mu'ayn, to establish that the person has done an act of kufr and that he is a particular kafir, provided he doesn't have any prevention of takfeer. Now, although certain topics, they can be intertwined with this subject, and if you've got a copy of our session sheet, if anyone's got that, you'll see what we're discussing. We've discussed what is takfeer, what are the consequences of refraining from takfeer. Today we're going to discuss who from the Salaf made takfeer, who from the Salaf do not make takfeer, what is iman, how do we judge someone's iman, what is irja. We're going to stop at the whole session, what is meant to be session 3. Our sayings iman, our actions iman, is iman in the heart. How can we tell if someone is mu'min or kafir? Next week we will discuss how do we judge somebody's iman, and also what is irja and the origins of the murji'ah. We're going to go into detail on that. So What exactly we don't want to get too delved into, and I did think about this, is when you look to session 7, which is what is kufr and what is shirk and what is negations of iman. Although those subject matters are intertwined with regards to this, when we discuss the nawabit al-takfir, we want to be concerned with those particular masail, those particular matters in relation just on the process of at-takfir. That's why I don't want to later on go into such heavy detail on shirk and kufr, where although it's intertwined with this topic, I believe it's better if we study those topics separately as part of an Aqidah course. Otherwise we'll lose the entire direction of where we're going with the framework. We'll never be able to cover the A to Z as much as we can, as much detail as we have. So instead what we will do, I mentioned what we've discussed already. Today we will discuss those people who don't make takfir, those people who do make takfir. What is iman? How is the iman understood between three sects? Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Murji'ah and the Khawarij. And from there we will jump straight into the area of the preventions of takfir. So we will lay down iman as understood by all three sects, and we will expose those sects and where they've deviated. What is the mistakes of the Khawarij, so we don't become like them? What is the mistakes of the Murji'ah, and what is the effect of those particular sects, if there is any effect from those particular sects on particular groups and organizations, or people who claim that they're Salafi or Talafi or Madkhali or whatever it is, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, whatever title people want to give. And then from there we will go to the preventions of takfir. Like I said, that is the most heaviest part of this course. And then finally we will then apply the takfir then to the rulers, because the whole process of why we're learning the takfir is obviously to understand the framework of it. But obviously this is, whenever this topic is discussed, it always goes back to the rulers. When people say, that's what people are discussing takfir about, the rulers and the governments and those people who are committing kufr and shirk nowadays. So maybe that will be a separate topic as part of another session, but we'll see how the course it develops. So all we want to understand is that we just want to use this course to comprehend the mechanism, how someone goes from iman to kufr. So let us start with the topic of not who from the Salaf made takfir, but we want to study who from the Salaf do not make takfir. I think it's better if we study the worst ones first, so we know who not to be like. Then we can study who we want to be like. Yeah? So the first point that we need to mention is who from the Salaf, or who are the people who do not make takfir, are the munafiqeen. The munafiqeen are the ones who don't make takfir. What is the munafiq? We discussed this previously, we mentioned this previously. We said the munafiq, his inner and his outer, they are different. They are different. He displays iman, but he conceals kufr. And only on the hard time you will know him. And I'm going to give you a nice example of how exactly this occurred during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. During the battle of Badr, which is one of the first battles which took place, you're talking about an army of 300 which took on 1,000 kuffar. At that time, some people who became munafiqeen inside Mecca, they joined the army of the Quraysh. And what was their excuse? Ya Aki, we're living inside Britain. We got to join the British army. Who's going to pay our money? Ya Aki, we're under duress. We give oath of allegiance to the Queen. I am British, Muslim. Not Muslim, Muslim. There's a difference between Muslim and Muslim. Muslim, the one who submits to Allah. Muslim is the one who lives in the dark. We don't want to be Muslim. They will say that in America, or Muslim. Yeah, you be Muslim. We want to be Muslim. So those people, they claimed duress. Those people, they claimed duress, that what can we do, is the law of the land, we got the Qurayshi government above us. And when those people who were captured, amongst them was the uncle of Rasulullah, he's known as Abbas. What did he do? He said exactly the same thing. He said, I'm under duress. I'm under duress. Rasulullah, he never accepted the duress of Abbas, his own uncle who was living inside Mecca, who came and he was captured on the middle of the battlefield. Afterwards, however, he repented. And we mentioned this previously, that once those people were captives of war, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he said, let us use these captives for ransom, to try and get some money from the Quraysh. They're quite rich. You see, there's very stories, like if you read the story of Musab ibn Umair, his own brother was there. Musab, I forget his brother's name, but his brother was captured, and his brother, he said, Ya Musab, you know me, we're from the same mother. He said, no, you're not my brother, he is my brother. And he probably pointed to Osama, one of those other brothers. Yeah, that was there, yeah. He said, he's my brother, you're not my brother. And in fact, he even emphasized further, he went further. He said, tie him up properly, because his mother, we got the same mother, his mother is very rich, and she's got a lot of money back home. You're talking about complete terrorists here, these people, honestly, yeah. If they were alive today, we don't know what would happen to them. Umar al-Faruq is a little bit harsher, as we know, than Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He said, Ya Rasulullah, let's kill all of the captives of war, just to show Allah that we obey him, just to show Allah that we love him. That's Umar al-Faruq, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. he said to Umar al-Faruq, he said, you are like Nuh alayhi salam, who made dua to Allah, and he said, destroy all of these people and don't leave a single one of them. And those people who were captured were incidentally, majority of them were the leaders of the Quraysh. Now, those who were not captured from those munafiqeen, they went back to Mecca. And what they decided to do was, let's go to Medina to do some trade. You know, so let's go to the shopping, innit? I'm going to go buy some Nike, some TNs, some Air Max 90s. That's the ones I like anyway, yeah? Some nice jacket. We'll go there, get my swagger on and whatever, innit? So they're going to go and they're going to get their swagger on and whatever, yeah? And at that time, the Muslims, they heard. And they started to gather the army around, the Mujahideen, they started to gather. And I said, when those munafiqeen, those ones who sold out, yeah, and joined the British, yeah, we're going to kill them. I'm not inciting you to do anything, but that's what they were thinking at that time. You know what happened at that time? One group of people, they came out and they started to condemn, what? The killing? No. The takfeer of the Sahaba upon those munafiqeen. For greater reason, if you're going to kill a person, what do you consider this man? You consider this person a kafir, the one who made alliance with the kuffar. And you know what they said to them? They said, you can't kill them. They say, La ilaha illallah. They say, La ilaha illallah. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He revealed the ayah in Surah Al-Nisa, verse number 88 to 89. Allah said, what is wrong with you that you argue about the two parties, the munafiqeen? Allah has upset for them their evil deeds. Would you guide those whom Allah has misguided? Meaning what? In this verse, what did Allah do? Allah Azza wa Jal, He called those people who allied with the Quraysh as munafiqeen, and those people who started to condemn the Sahaba about their takfeer upon those munafiqeen, and said that they are both of those groups are munafiqeen. For those whom Allah has misguided, never shall they find a way. They wish that you should disbelieve as they disbelieve, so that you should become equal. Talking about those munafiqeen who allied with the Quraysh. And then what did Allah say? He said, do not take them as friends until they make hijrah in the way of Allah. Don't take them as friends until they make tawbah, come back and they fight jihad in the cause of Allah. But if they turn back, meaning they stay with the Quraysh, seize them, find them wherever they are, and kill them wherever you find them, and do not take any friends or helpers from them. Ibn Abbas, he said that those people who condemned the takfir, they were running around Medina. They were running around and they were worried if this ayah was revealed about them. You see? And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He called both of those groups munafiqeen. Those who fought the Muslims, and those people who refused to make the takfir upon those original munafiqeen. So that is the first point. The munafiq, he does not make the takfir, because his inner and his outer is different. Whereas the muwahhid, he has something called al-talazum, and we will discuss al-talazum, meaning his inner and his outer is the same. We don't have any nifaq, or we try not to have any nifaq within our heart, and we try to have complete inner and outer. It needs to be matching both the same on the sayings and the actions and on the belief. The second group of people who don't make the takfir, believe it or not, are Jews. What? Jews don't make takfir? Yeah, Jews are murji as well. Before the nubuwah, before the revelation, before the nubuwah, the Jews, they knew exactly who was Rasulullah. How did they know who was Rasulullah? Because being written inside their own scriptures who was Rasulullah. All the description being written, he's going to have this marks. And even inside the Injil, inside the Injil as well as the Torah. And not only that, even inside the book of Barnabas, I don't know what the hell this is, but I just heard there's some book called the book of Barnabas. Even in there, it talks about, it doesn't speak about Rasulullah, it talks about Umar al-Faruq. Umar al-Faruq is mentioned inside the book of Barnabas. So all of those previous scriptures, they have some truth within there after, of course, they've been distorted. Now, those Jews, as soon as Rasulullah came, what did they start to say? They started to complain. They said, why is he not Arab? Why is he Arab and why is he not a Jew? They started to complain. Safiya, radiyallahu ta'ala anha, who was the wife of Rasulullah, she reported that her uncle, who was a Jew, he came with a group of people to meet Rasulullah. And after they met him and they were returning back, you know what the Jews, they started to say to one another? They started to say, is that really him? Is that really him? They were like, in awe, like, not subhanallah, but wow, what has happened here? The same man whose description has been written inside the Torah and the Injil, he's here. Is that him? Is that really him? And what did they say to one another? They said, yeah, it's him. They all came to some ijma, some consensus that is really him. And then one of them, he asked another one, he said, now tell me the truth now. What do you hold inside your heart for him? They said, animosity and hatred forever. Those were the Jews when they met Rasulullah. Afterwards, when they carried on going, the news that reached the Quraysh that the Jews, they met Rasulullah. The Quraysh, what are they? Muslim or kafir? They're kafir. They were upon the mushrikeen. They were upon shirk. They met the Jews and they said, look, you Jews, oh Jews, our good friends, yeah, from Israel and from New York, yeah. You met the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yeah. You met him, and you know about our deen. Tell us, whose deen is better? Remember now, the Jews, they know about Tawheed. They knew about the Haqq. They knew all the signs about Rasulullah. Still, what did they do? Leave the Kit Kat alone, man. What did they do? They said, we prefer you. We said, we prefer you, the Quraysh, over Rasulullah. So what did they do? They refused to make takfeer upon the Quraysh. You see? You never thought about it from that angle, innit? Yeah? So takfeer is massive. You see? So that was the first group, the Jews. They refused to make takfeer. Also, the third group that don't make takfeer is the Shia. What? Shia don't make takfeer. The Shia don't make takfeer upon you, to your face. Behind your back they do. The Shia, some of them, they're known as Batanis. Batanis are those people... Yeah, I know, but when they meet you face to face, it's a different story. Yeah? Some Shia, they are Batanis. Batanis meaning they hide their belief. Yeah? That's why the Rafida, they believe all Sunnis are Nawasib. Nawasib means like Nasabi Kafir. That's what they call us, Nawasib. Nasabi Kafir. They believe we're Kafir. The extreme Rafida Shia. But if they meet you, what do they say? You're Muslim. That's why we say the deen of the Shia, the best way to describe the deen of the Shia is 99% lies and 1% tuqiyah. Yeah? So the Shia, they refuse to make takfeer. 99% lies and 1% tuqiyah. The fourth group who don't make the takfeer are those people who have asabiyah or partisanship or hizbiyah. Yeah? And we can see that nowadays where, for example, people, they refuse to make takfeer upon their sheikh. It doesn't matter how good your sheikh is. It doesn't matter how good somebody is who teaches you your deen. Tomorrow if he commits the shirk and the kufr, you don't start to say, well, he's still a sheikh, he's alim, he's got all the knowledge. The knowledge is not going to protect you. That's why people today, they have this hizbiyah. I'll give you one example, towards one individual known as Yusuf al-Qaradawi from Egypt. This man, he said all of the kufr under the sun. He said if Allah was to come down and be in an election with the Jew would beat Allah in an election. He said, forget all the other stuff he says. Music is allowed, 5%, 1% alcohol is allowed inside the drinks. Singers are allowed. They asked him about music. He said, what music is haram? He goes, I listen to it myself. Started giving a list of all the Arab singers. You know what I mean, yeah? All of that. On top of that, he says the Jews and the Christians are our brothers. And that one we already mentioned. We discussed this already, innit? The one who says they're not kafir, who has doubt they're not kafir, he becomes a kafir. What about the one who says, yeah, he's my brother? Not even brother in humanity. Yeah, genuinely he is my brother. So that's complete rubbish. And we can see that type of partisanship. Who were the first people to practice this type of hizbiyah towards their people? Were the Jews. Yeah, where one day they used to go and forbid the munkarat that they used to engage in. Then the next day they used to go and sit with them. And this reminds us nowadays of those Talafis. In fact, they do exactly the same thing as well. Yeah, they have this hizbiyah and partisanship. They call King Abdullah, he's Muwahhid, but Saddam Hussein is a kafir. Yeah, and now I heard there's some rumor going around that Mubarak, he said he's Amir al-Mu'mineen. So we don't know what's going to happen now. He called himself Amir al-Mu'mineen. Who are you going to make takfeer on? You can't have two rulers. Hadith said if there's two rulers, you kill one of them. What are you going to do? There's 55 of them. You see? So this is an example of the hizbiyah. Let me give you an example during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the ifk is spread about Aisha radiyallahu anha, what's the ifk? Ifk is not lie. Ifk is not even slander. Ifk, it means a complete fabrication, meaning there's no truth in it whatsoever. Not backbiting, no, complete fabrication. A complete fabrication altogether. Allah Azza wa Jal, He revealed at that time to purify the honor of al-Mu'mineen about who was the one responsible. And Sa'ad ibn Muaz, who is a great Sahabi, he said to Rasulullah, he said, Ya Rasulullah, if he's from the Aus, because he's from the same tribe, he said, we will kill him. But if he's from the Hazraj, if you order us, we will kill him. So what was the mistake he made? He said, because if he's from that tribe, from that tribe, which I'm not from that tribe, I'll kill him. But if he's from my tribe, if you order me, then I'll kill him. And if you don't order me, I'm not going to kill him. Rasulullah, he replied, and it's reported in Sahih Bukhari, he is not one of us who calls for asabiyah. the nationalism. You see? So Asabiyya, Hizbiyya, any type of partisanship. And that was that condemnation of Sa'd ibn Mu'az, even though he's a great Sahabi, we're not condemning him, but just that particular action, because the Asabiyya was a bit difficult to give up for some of the companions. That condemnation was only for refusing to kill him. Yeah, only for making some type of suggestion that I'm not going to kill him. What if he said, I'm not going to call him a kafir? You see? So people have hizbiyya, partisanship, and we're not accusing any companions of that, because whenever we mention Sahabi, we talk about it in a good light, not in a bad light, yeah? But people have hizbiyya, they won't make the takfeer. The fifth type of people who don't make the takfeer are the murjiyah. The murjiyah, they don't make takfeer. Why? Because, in a nutshell, because this is a whole topic on its own, I don't want to discuss who are the murjiyah, but the murjiyah, they separate action from iman. So therefore, even you have two types of murjiyah. There's murjiyah gulat and murjiyah fuqaha. I'll explain them in the second session that we're going to have anyway. But murjiyah gulat, they're basically kafir, basically, yeah? I'll explain why, and I'll give you all the origins of them a little bit as well. But murjiyah fuqaha, for example, they'll say iman is belief, and saying and action is a supplementary, is the kamal. I don't want to go into that because it's another topic altogether, yeah? But those are known as the murjiyah fuqaha. But in a nutshell, what the murjiyah belief is, action is not part of iman. So even if you spit on the Quran, even if you swear at Allah, doesn't matter what you do, yeah? Iman is inside the heart. And not until you make istihlal, or you make jahud or rejection from your heart and say it by your tongue, we don't call the person kafir. So the murjiyah are the people who refuse to make the takfeer. The next people who don't make takfeer are people who are jahil. Yeah, people who don't know ABC Islam. Yeah, so people like, for example, you say to them, Ya akhi, why are you listening to this man George Galloway? This man kafir. A'udhu billah, please don't break my heart. You know what I mean? Just shh, don't say this word kafir. This is too much now. How can you say this? You know what I mean? Or they'll say, oh, you become takfiri or something like that. But somebody complete jahil. And we already mentioned this, that whoever doubts the kufr of the Jews and the Christians or believes their deen is correct, then he is a kafir. The next one is which number? 7. Okay, my numbers are a bit mixed up. Number 7 is the one who is muqallid. The muqallid, the people who blindly follow, they are praised and dispraised, in fact, because there is a halal way of or recommended and fard even of a method of blindly following somebody, and that is, for example, when Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, "Fasalu al-dhikri in kuntum la ta'lamun." If you don't know, ask those who have knowledge. Yeah, the matters which are ilma darura, they are known by necessity. The alim and the layman, they're both equal upon that. However, if the alim, if he contradicts anything which is known by necessity, it was, I believe, Ibn Qadama al-Maqdisi or Shamsuddin al-Maqdisi. Shamsuddin al-Maqdisi, he's the teacher of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. He said, anytime the scholar, he contradicts something which is known from the deen by necessity, he loses his trust. Meaning, why is it that you go to the scholar in the first place? It's because you trust him for your deen. If you don't trust him, you don't go to him, like the man who went to the doctor. Anybody, anyone who you refer to your deen doesn't. When we say, because alim is the one we refer to, but it doesn't have, not necessarily you're going to be able to find an alim, because alim is divine term. Alim has specific criteria. Al ulama warasatul anbiya. The ulama, they are the inheritors of the anbiya. So how do I recognize an alim? Alim Rabbani, for example. This is a divine term. Never the hadith spoke about the alim without to talk about the anbiya. So how do I know the alim? He does the job of the anbiya. Not just man who just has some zuhud and just some taqwa and he says Mustafa Jani Rahmat. There's many peers like that. They're not going to start calling them alim. Yeah, alim Jishti Mishti and Sidi Qadir Abdul Jalani. No. Alim, he is the inheritor of the anbiya. How do you know him? He does da'wah. He commands good, he forbids evil. You know him on the vital issues. You know him on the urgent issues that are affecting the ummah. You can't tell me this man alim, Muslims are being bombed inside Afghanistan, he doesn't bat an eyelid. You can't tell me that they're talking about democracy and how they want to implement that inside democracy, inside Egypt, and this man, he doesn't want to stand up on a mimbar. This man not alim. Maybe he's good khatib, he's got a good tongue, nice voice, but that is how you know the alim. That's why all of those people who've been known as ulama, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Kathir, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal, Sayyid Qutb, whoever they are from all of those great ulama, why do we call them alim? Is it because they wrote many books of hadith? Or many books of, Aqidah? In fact, there's more people writing books about Aqidah probably than those scholars in the past. But why you know them as such great men? Because you know them on the vital issues. So those type of people that you trust for your deen, you refer to them. and whatever they say, that'll be hujjah for you. You trust him. You can't go to somebody and he says he's a scholar, and you ask him, okay, not for his opinion, because it's not his opinion. He's going to make his own qiyas or ijtihad, or he's going to give you some fatwa on past the hukum. And afterwards he says to you the hukum, you say, I've got a difference of opinion. Well, mashallah, you become scholar. Why you go to refer to him in the first place then? Like you go to the doctor and you say, yeah, I've got a problem with my knee. He says, yeah, your left tricycle is broken. Yeah? And you say, who are you? Where'd you get your degree from? MashaAllah, what'd you ask me for in the first place? If you don't trust me, why you ask me for in the first place? So you ask the person that you trust for your deen. That one is praise. The dispraised taqleed, the dispraised muqallid, is the one who, when he asks the scholar a question and he gives him an answer, or the scholar passes a fatwa, but that contradicts the text, it contradicts those matters which are known from the deen by necessity, then that is the haram type of blind following. And that one is completely dispraised. And maybe went out a little bit out of the topic, but who are the people who had that taqleed? Were the Quraysh. The Quraysh, they had this taqleed to their parents on the idol worship. So those are the people, the muqallid, who don't make the takfeer. They refuse to call their parents, some of the Quraysh, they refuse to call their own parents kafir because of their blind following of them. And some of them even claim that they were on the haqq, even though Allah, He called them mushrik, despite any type of ignorance. Someone could say, for example, that their parents were ignorant of the Quraysh. They didn't know. Or maybe they had their own ta'wil. And it is true. Some of them, maybe they had their own ignorance and their own ta'wil. Yet Allah Azza wa Jal, He never excused them. And the ayah in relation to that could be found in Surah 33, verse 67 to 68. Allah Azza wa Jal, He said that they will say, O our Lord, on Yawmul Qiyamah, the people, they will say, O our Lord, we were following our leaders, our chiefs, and they misguided us. So punish them a double punishment and curse them a big curse. But on Yawmul Qiyamah going to be too late. You're the one who blindly followed your parents in that shirk, or your tribal leader, or your sheikh in that. You got no excuse upon that. So that's why I mentioned haram to follow a sheikh or a scholar where he contradicts the text, but something fard and something wajib upon you to refer to the scholar if you don't know upon any matter. Otherwise, what are you going to do if you don't refer to the scholar? Who are you going to refer to? Your foot? Your backside? You're not going to refer to that. You're going to refer to a packet of crisps. You're going to refer to the man inside Tesco's? No, you're not. You have to refer to the scholars. And in fact, the Jews and the Christians, they've been dispraised for this taqleed as well, for following their shayuk when they started to contradict the text and start to make the haram halal. And the verse for this can be found in Surah At-Tawbah. Surah Tawbah, verse 31. The ayah said, "Attaqadu abbarahum wa rabbanahum arbaba min dunillah." Allah Azza wa Jalla said they took their scholars and their rabbis and their priests as arbab, as a lord, as a god besides Allah Azza wa Jalla. And the incident, the asbab al-nuzul of this particular verse is explained in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad and Sahih al-Bukhari. It's regarding one Sahabi known as Adi ibn Hatim, or Uday ibn Hatim. And there's two narrations with regards to this. The one inside Bukhari, it says that he came to Rasulullah and he was a new convert to Islam, and he was wearing a cross of gold. In Musnad of Imam Ahmad, he doesn't mention about the cross of gold. When he came to him inside Bukhari, Rasulullah, he said, "What is this that you're wearing around your neck?" He said, "Remove it." And he read the verse, Surah At-Tawbah, verse 31, and then he finished the entire surah of Surah At-Tawbah. After Rasulullah, he finished that particular surah, Adi ibn Hatim, he said, "Ya Rasulullah, how did we take our rabbis and monks as gods besides Allah?" He said, "We didn't worship them, meaning we didn't bow down to them, we didn't sacrifice any animal for them. What the hell, what did we do wrong?" He said, "Did they not make the haram halal and the haram halal, and you obeyed them in that?" He said, "Indeed." He said, "That is how you worship them." They done what? Shirk ta'a. They obeyed them in that matter, when they should have made takfeer upon them. They should have made takfeer upon those rabbis and monks who started to make the haram halal completely upside down. The istihlal, which is the negation of iman, yet they refused to make takfeer and they blindly followed. So that is that point number 7, yeah, I believe, yeah. And the next point is number 8. Number 8 is the cowards. Cowards, people who are chickens, yeah, people who are waste man. They don't make no takfeer, yeah. They're afraid maybe of arrest or persecution. So what do in regards to the takfeer? They make something called tawakkuf. Tawakkuf means they stop. So after you explain to him that, look, this person, he done this kufr, he done that, what are you going to do about him? What do we have to say about him now? He'll say, stop, I can't make takfeer upon him. In relation to this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, cowardness and iman, it cannot exist in the heart of a mu'min. Good lesson for us in everything really. In the da'wah, in commanding good, forbidding evil, in the jihad, in the struggle to make Allah's word the most high. You cannot be a coward and a mu'min. Cowardness and iman, it could not exist in the heart of a mu'min. Rather, we are people, inshallah, who want to have complete tawakkul in Allah Azza wa Jal. And when we talk about tawakkul, we don't mean trust, meaning complete reliance on Allah. Yeah? Like people nowadays, they say, I got tawakkul in Allah, but I have to shave my beard off in order to get the job. What are you talking about? So where's your reliance in Allah? Where is your reliance upon His rizq? Yeah, if I don't shave my beard off, yeah, how am I going to earn this money? My rizq is somehow going to be stopped. Your rizq has already been written. You see, it's only you foolish, who you thought you read Kitab al-Tawheed and were going with all those dodgy sheikhs and learning about Tawheed, when in fact all you were learning is how to kiss the backside of the king. You see, and twisting and turning the ayat of the Quran. Been reported in Sahih Bukhari, Ubadah bin Samit, he said, we gave the bay'ah to Rasulullah to speak the truth wherever we are and not to fear the mockers or the kuffar. See, that's Muslim. That is a Muslim. If I see kufr bu'a, Rasulullah said, you don't rise against the ruler, against the hukam, until you see the clear-cut kufr. After that, whoever has the capability, he should rise to remove his head. Just take him out. Basically, you remove him from authority and establish the Sharia. When we see all of the occupation of the Muslim land, how is it that you remain silent? You cannot fear anybody. And Muslim, he never fears anybody. That's why another narration of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the one who fears Allah, Allah will cause the whole of mankind to fear him. Yeah? I don't need to point any fingers, but I know brothers, I'm sure you put them on the train or you put them on the bus, yeah, that bus will be empty. It happened to me many times. You know what I mean? Allah knows if I fear Him or not. Yeah, but I'm just, I'm sure it happens with you guys as well. You go on the train and everyone just jumps off. Well, where are you going? I'm feeling a bit claustrophobic. I'll jump on the next carriage. Next carriage, that man, he goes and jumps on another line. Forget the next carriage. You're not even going to wait for the next train. Yeah. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also said, as for the one who does not fear Allah, yeah, nobody will fear him. Nobody will fear him. You think the kuffar, they're afraid of Mubarak? Oh, I'm not going to be in power. It doesn't matter. When you go, we'll just put another chamcha in there. Doesn't make a difference to us whatsoever. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 54, O you who believe, if any one of you turns his back from his faith, Allah will produce a people who He will love, and they will love Him. They will have rahmah with the believers, and they will be harsh with the kuffar. Yujahiduna fi sabilillah. They fight in the way of Allah, and they're never afraid of the reproaches or the blame of the blamers. And that is the grace of Allah which He bestows upon whom He pleases, and Allah, He encompasses all and He sees all. And the last one in relation to this topic is the people who are the government preachers. They don't make takfeer, because you need to understand, to be close to the rulers, even if he's a zalim, is something being dispraised by the companions, by the tabi'in and the tabi'in. Imam Abu Hanifa, he refused to become a judge, because of one particular issue. So, and that is talking about the ruler who is a zalim. What about the one who is a complete apostate? He doesn't rule by the Sharia, he completely violates Allah's sanctity. How is it that somebody, he can be working for him or come close to him? People, they say, Ya akhi, you don't know this man. He is Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan from Hayat al-Kabar al-Ulama. Yeah? Yeah, and he's working for the Uli Amr. Is it Uli Amr or is it Uli Hamr? Yeah, the drunk king, working for him. And there's many narrations in regards to this being reported by Ibn Qayyim, that Sufyan al-Thawri, he said, any one of you who sees somebody going to the gates of the ruler, testify that this person is a thief. Meaning, why is he coming close to the ruler? And if you read this book, The Path to Guidance, it's in English, you can get it in English, it's published by Salafi Publications. Salafi Publications. In there, he mentioned this Talbis Iblis, the devil's deception. He goes, one of the devil's deception is the scholar who comes close to the zalim ruler. And he goes, he mentioned about 3 or 4 things which happen if he comes close to this ruler. Not talking about the apostate, talking about the one who's an oppressive one. He goes, the first thing that would occur is the king or the ruler will say, how can I be wrong? How can what I be doing is wrong? Because surely if I was wrong, the scholar, he would correct me. Secondly, he said that the people will say, how can the ruler, he be wrong? Because if he was wrong, then surely the scholar is the one who would correct him. And thirdly, what did he say? He said the scholar, he would become corrupted. Why? Because the king or the ruler, he would start to shower his gifts upon this person. You see? And that's why Sheikh Umar, I remember he met Sayyid Sabiq. Sayyid Sabiq, rahmahullah, he passed away now. He wrote the book called Fiqh Sunnah. And he was a lecturer, I believe, inside Medina University. And when he met him on the Hajj, And Sheikh Umar said to me, surprise me, you know all of this knowledge, yet you don't speak out against the regime. You know what Sayyid Sabiq, he said? He said, Medina University is the cemetery of the ulama. Meaning what? Meaning if we speak out, not forget, no, we're going to be killed, our reputation is going to be on the line. People are going to say, this man Khawarij, this man become takfiri, this man become deviant. How are we going to lose all of this position? You know what Sheikh Umar said to him? He said, and what about even though you know the haqq, still you remain silent? And Sayyid Sabiq, he started to cry until his beard became wet. He had a big white beard, and the man, he started to cry. You see? So position, position is not something desired. You know, when the one who wants to he wants to be the Amir of, or he wants to become the leader, this is the person you don't want to become like. You see, it's not something that the Sahaba, they used to rush towards. If they've been put in a position, they've been put in a position. But no one used to rush forward and say, I want to be the Amir, or I want to be the leader. You see, let alone to rush to the gates of the ruler. Abu Hurairah, he said, and it's reported in Sahih Muslim, Abu Hurairah reported that Rasulullah said, whenever a person becomes close to a ruler, he will be further away from Allah Azza wa Jal. Subhanallah. You see, you think Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he was really close to the ruler? His student was who? Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. Ibn Taymiyyah, majority of his Majmu'ah al-Fatawa was written inside prison. And they said Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, who everybody they refer to when it comes to the affairs of the heart, he's the most toughest person you can find when it comes to the purification of the soul. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he will give you a headache if you try to read his books. Just try to understand some of his books. That's why it's very difficult to translate them. They said Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he was not released from prison until Ibn Taymiyyah, he passed away. Why is that? Because he was a threat to the society. When people started to mix the laws of the Sharia with the Jews and the Christians and produce their own book, the Law of Al-Yasik, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he said, anybody you find like this, anybody you find coming under the banner of this type of kufr, he said, even if you see them making the sujood inside the masjid in the prayer, he said, take their head off. That's Ibn Taymiyyah. People want to talk about takfiri. He's a big takfiri and big jihadi. That's why he's Shaykh al-Jihad, Shaykh al-Tawheed, you see. And that's why we will study the A to Z of his life one day, inshallah. Imam Rafi, he reported that Abu Hurairah, he said, there's another narration, one of the most hated creation to Allah is the scholar who keeps visiting the government. And Abu Hurairah, he also said, the most hated qadis to Allah are those who visit the rulers. SubhanAllah. This is a hadith, Abu Hurairah, he reported from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The most hated qadis to Allah are those who visit the rulers. And the other narration that I gave you that the scholar who comes to the ruler, comes close to the ruler, he becomes like a thief. There's the same narration of that reported in Ibn Majah as well. So you can see that from those big belly sheikhs nowadays, working for those regimes. Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan, he said the best jihad is no jihad today. And even he's got fatwa as well. So-called fatwa, we call it a faswa. Faswa is the silent fart. Silent but deadly. He said, anybody who harms any American soldier or American troop, or anybody American living inside the Holy Land, in Baladul Haramain, this person, he will not smell the Jannah. Because the hadith said, whoever harms a dhimmi, he will not smell the Jannah. And it is upon the Uli Amr to remove those people of the land. And in fact, they are people of covenant as well. People of covenant, people who establish 50 American bases inside the Holy Land, and then send their planes and tanks, and send all of the fuel. And in fact, all of the contractors are from Saudi as well. There's the Saudi Arab contractors who are the ones who are building all of the housing compounds there. Completely like Los Angeles. You just see on the Google. It's palm trees. They got their own McDonald's. They got their own shopping compounds. And they got mushrikeen working within there with their own bars and with their own restaurants. That's why in 2004, obviously I'm not inciting anything like that, but Mujahideen, they raided one place. It was one American compound. They drove in with the vehicle and they held everybody hostage. The Americans started running. They went inside one restaurant. And obviously they condemned the brothers. They said, "Look, what the hell are you working here for, innit?" Anyway, their brothers, they didn't have any beard. They were a little bit ignorant, and they said, "Look, our employer, our manager, he's a Hindu. A Hindu is inside Baladul Haramain, and this is just outside of Riyadh." And he said he refuses us to pray the salah. So what they done was, this is on a balcony. You can imagine like a big shopping complex, and you got a restaurant on the 3rd floor. He said, which one is he? He goes, that one. They chopped his head off and they threw it off the balcony. You see? So that's the state of affairs inside Balad al-Haramain. But obviously for the Saudi government, those people are Khariji, and those people become takfiri. Anyway, so that is that topic. who are the people who don't make takfir? So those are the people who we don't want to be like. Who are the people who do make takfir then? And this I'll start from number 1 now, for the people who do make takfir. First of all, we need to understand that Allah Azza wa Jal, He said in Surah Al-Baqarah, that Allah Azza wa Jal, He taught Adam alayhi salam the name of everything. Yeah, so the name of everything has been taught to man about everything. So no one can say that he doesn't know, I don't know the name of, for example, a tree. Allah is the one who called the tree a tree. Allah is the one who gave the name of the mountain to the mountain. Yeah. So therefore we say only Allah is the one who can say who is a kafir and who is a Muslim. Meaning, not literally, but meaning in terms of, by description, who is a kafir and who is a Muslim. Yeah. So anyone we say who fits the description of the kafir, we call him a kafir. You can't say I'm not sure. If Allah called somebody kafir, you can't say I'm not sure. If Allah calls somebody that this is the description of a Muslim, you can't say I'm not sure. Therefore, we say Allah Azza wa Jal, He makes the takfir and He calls the kafir a kafir. And there's many evidences with regards to that. Surah Ma'idah, verse number 17. Allah said, those who claim that Allah is Isa ibn Maryam, they are kafir. Who can have any protection if Allah decides to destroy Isa alayhi salam and his mother and all the people of the earth? This is obviously condemning the Christians, yeah, for their worship of Isa alayhi salam. You can't turn around after that verse and start to say, I think the Christians, they're Muslim. What are you talking about? Christian, when we say Christian, we mean people who worship Isa alayhi salam. Those people who are the followers of Isa alayhi salam, they never call themselves Christian. They're Muslim. We believe Jesus is a Muslim. Abraham is a Muslim. Moses is a Muslim. All their companions, they are Muslim. Also, Allah Azza wa Jalla said in Surah Tawbah, verse 29, fight those who do not believe in Allah and the people of the book. Fight those who do not believe in Allah, the people of the book. SubhanAllah. So who's that talking about? The kafir. Allah Azza wa Jalla making takfir. You can't say, don't call the kafir a kafir. Where do I put this verse? Another verse is Surah Tawbah, verse 65 to 66. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, if you were to ask them, they will say, we were only joking. Say, are you joking and mocking Allah and His verses? Don't bring excuses. You are kafir after you became mu'min. And this is obviously regarding those people who came back from the battle of Tabuk, and they started to mock the companions, and they started to say, look at these people, when they recite like dogs. A'udhu billah. Yeah? Allah Azza wa Jalla called them kafir. He already say, you become kafir after you are mu'min. Yeah? Another verse is Surah Nisa, verse 88 to 89. Yeah? I don't have the verse here with me, I just have the reference. But let me give you the tafsir of this verse. Ibn Kathir and Imam Qurtubi, they made tafsir on this ayah about the murtadeen of Badr. Oh yeah, this is the verse. We mentioned this verse before. When we discussed about the munafiqeen, yeah, that verse, about the two, why are you arguing about the two groups of munafiqeen, is that particular verse. In the tafsir of this is reported in Ibn Kathir and Imam Qurtubi's tafsir. Imam Qurtubi's tafsir, volume 5, page 349. And for your information, Ibn Kathir, his tafsir, which we read, is a concise version of Imam Qurtubi's tafsir. If you want to know what is the best book of tafsir, it's Imam Qurtubi's tafsir. That's very good. Yeah. Okay, he said in here, in both the books it's been written, these ayat are about Muslims who stayed in Mecca at the time of Hudaybiyah, because they were attached to the land and their houses, until the Quraysh asked them to join the army of the Quraysh to fight in Badr against the Muslims. They went out in Badr against the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah, He called them kafir and gave permission to their companions to kill all of them. You see? So, just in case someone says, Aki, you're bringing your own interpretation of the verse. No, we refer to the Sahaba understanding. We understand the Asbab al-Nuzul as understood by Rasulullah and the companions, and we affirm that Allah Azza wa Jal, He does make takfir, not just upon the kafir asli, but upon the kafir murtad. Remember, there's 2 or 3 types of kafir. When we studied this topic last year in Nawaqid al-Islam, what are the 3 types of kafir? Kafir asli, from the Jews and Christians. Second one is kafir murtad, or second one is, kafir from the mushrikeen. And third one is the kafir murtad, the one who is Muslim, then he become kafir. The second people who make the takfir are the malaika, the angels. The angels ain't murji, for your information, yeah? They curse and they declare kafir, whoever Allah, He calls them kafir. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allah Azza wa Jal, He chose for me muhajireen and ansar, helpers and in-laws, and whosoever swears at them, whosoever swears at the muhajireen or the ansar, or the helpers and the in-laws, meaning Muhajirin and the Ansar, or harms them, the curse of Allah and the angels and the people is on them. You see? So Rasulullah affirming that the angels, they make takfeer upon whoever Allah He calls kafir, or whoever Allah He has dispraised. Yeah, meaning those people who swear at the companions. And that's consensus, incidentally. Anybody who swears at a Sahabi, he becomes a kafir. Imam Malik, he said so. Imam Shafi, he said so. Many, many scholars. I'll give you a whole list of those narrations another time. Number 3, Ibrahim alayhi salam. And all the Anbiya, they make takfeer. If people want to say to us now, we are takfiri. Yeah, Allah is not takfiri. We don't want to say attribute anything to Allah. Allah makes takfir. Yeah, the angels make takfir, and Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this verse is obviously Surah Mumtahina, verse 4. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, "Verily for you is a good example in Ibrahim and those with him. They said to their people at their time, we are free from you and have bara'ah." And you don't have bara'ah from a Muslim. When we talk about al-wala al-bara, who's the bara against? Bara is against kafir. And we are free from you and whatever you worship or obey or follow instead of Allah. We reject you. And between us and you is animosity and hatred, and this will continue until you worship Allah alone exclusively. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he made takfir upon his people. Surah Mumtahina, Surah 60, verse number 4. Surah Mumtahina, Surah 60, verse number 4. Number 4 is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, the Nabi Muhammad, he makes takfir as well. When the Quraysh, when they came to him and they started to make offer, they said, look, what do you want? You want women? You want NHS service? You want gold? We'll give you all of this. Just stop calling for la ilaha illallah. And in fact, what they offer to Rasulullah is much more than what they offer us today. What did they say to you today? Oi, Paki Warsi, you become a lap dancer for David Cameron inside the government, and then someone will chuck an egg at you, yeah, with a lot of protein and low carbs, yeah, right? And you can join our parliament, yeah? What did they offer Rasulullah? They said, if you want to become prime minister, we'll make you become prime minister over us for 1 year, and we'll become prime minister over you for 1 year. Just stop calling for la ilaha illallah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, I'll never stop calling for this deen unless the deen become dominant or my head be removed. And then what was the ayah that was revealed at that time? Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. Listen up, Mr. Kafir. Doesn't it get more explicit than that? And the asbab al-nuzul of this is that when Rasulullah said this, it's not like how some people they interpret today. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. No. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. They said his face become red like a tomato. You see? Someone who become red is not because he's, he's in love, or, well, maybe he is in love, somebody could be in love, yeah? But meaning he's angry. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun. Listen up, Mr. Kafir. I don't worship what you worship. You don't worship what I worship. Lakum dinakum wal yadin. You to your deen and me to my deen. Meaning you go to hell. Take your democracy and freedom and shove it up your backside. And give me your passport, I'll screw it up and chuck it in between your legs. That's your democracy and freedom. Sharia for UK and Washington, and we're coming to take over the whole world. That's Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in fact, from the Bitha, from the time of the Wahi, in fact, Rasulullah, he made a takfir when he went onto Mount Safa. On Mount Safa, remember Rasulullah, he's been described as Al-Amin, being known as the most trustworthy person before Nabuwa. And he went to Mount Safa and he said, Alan, like let the people come, like they do this in Pakistan. Alan, the man has got something to say, yeah? What has he got to say? Something important he's got to tell us. Yeah, remember the Quraysh, when they used to have a dispute amongst each other, they used to have wars. He looked at me funny. All right, I'm going to kick off. We're going to have beef with you, yeah, down your ends in Forest Gate or whatever it is, yeah, and the Green Gate Goons, yeah, we're going to have some beef, yeah, the Green Gate Goons and South London, Beckenham, yeah, Bricky Man them. They're going to have beef and they're going to carry on forever. When they used to go and fight and they didn't know where to leave their gold, who's going to look after all my jewelry and that, yeah? Well, now go and shack this one up, yeah? He said, call Muhammad, he will look after them. Rasulullah, when he stood out on Mount Safa, and they said he stood there for a few hours, just saying, like, come, I've got something to tell you. Imagine that. We do dawah for 2-3 hours and sometimes we get tired. We do talk for 3 hours and we're like exhausted. And Rasulullah is telling the people, he's saying, just come, I've got something to tell you. And everybody came. And in fact, they said, even those people who couldn't make it, they sent a delegation on top of it. So Obama couldn't make it, he sent Hillary Clinton. She turned up there. Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, Obama, everybody. They all started to come. They said, what you got to tell us? Must be something important. What has happened? He said, if I was to tell you that there was an army behind this mountain, would you believe me? They said, indeed, you are Al-Amin. I said, what if I was to tell you that there's nothing worthy of worship, and I'm the only one I'm the one who is his messenger? They said, you're a liar. And in fact, what did Abu Lahab, he said, curse you and what you call us towards. And Allah Azza wa Jal, he revealed Surah Al-Masad. Surah Al-Masad, perish the hands of who? Abu Lahab. And not just him and his wife as well. Why? Because she consented to be married to George Bush. That's right. George Bush and his wife, you're both going to the hellfire. if you stay upon that shirk and that kufr. You see? So Rasulullah, he made a takfir in those two incidents, and more than that, on a third incident as well, Rasulullah, who was his close person who never embraced Islam to him? Abu Talib. Rasulullah, he was crying, in fact, on the deathbed of Abu Talib. He was upset, yeah, and because Abu Talib, he had this love towards his people, and he said, I can't leave the deen of my parents. And afterwards, when he left him, immediately, remember, you've been in a very emotional state now. Your uncle, it's not nice if your family, we don't wish our family to die as a kafir, your uncle, because his uncle was somebody who supported Rasulullah a lot inside Mecca, and as much as he could, he did support him, yeah. Afterwards, when he left, some companions and some people, they came to Rasulullah and they said, what happened to Abu Talib? You know what Rasulullah said? He said, I left him on the shirk. He never turned around and said, yeah, but he had iman inside his heart. Yeah, in fact, he did have iman inside his heart. Abu Talib had iman inside his heart, but he never testified it by the tongue, and he never acted upon it with the limbs. He was a murji of some sort, but he was a kafir. Abu Talib, obviously Shia don't like that. You say that to a Shia, they're ready to kill you. You know what I mean? But they end up killing themselves anyway, because there was Allah, Hussein, all this type of business, yeah? Then the Murtadeen of Badr, Rasulullah made takfir upon them. I mentioned this, about this. His uncle, Abbas, he was considered a kafir, and Rasulullah said to him, he said, Allah knows best about your Islam. Allah knows best about your Islam. And more than that, Musaylama al-Kadhab, Musaylama, he was somebody who embraced Islam. And then what did he do? He claimed Nabuwa. He claimed prophethood. He was a false prophet. Yeah? And Rasulullah, he called Musaylama a kafir. And he sent an army for those people to be killed of Musaylama. More than that, the munafiqeen of Masjid al-Dirar. Masjid al-Dirar is known as Masjid of the Hypocrites. And there's many mosques like that nowadays, in fact, which I want to burn down personally, yeah? But don't arrest me for that, because it's just hypothetically speaking. When I say burn down, I mean like spit at them, at least, yeah. That mosque, you know what they done? They used to call people to spy on the Muslims, and Rasulullah, he ordered that mosque to be destroyed, and he called all those people kafir. All those people who involved in Masjid Darar, and that Masjid Darar, they said, it was a very beautiful mosque, like Regent's Park Mosque. It was very beautiful, nice chandelier, nice carpet, nice wudu area. Turn your phones off. This Regent's Park Mosque, incidentally, you know who the committee members are? Every single committee member, each one of them is an ambassador from one of the Arab countries. That's why I remember once, yeah, this management got in trouble inside Regent's Park. You know, you got a downstairs basement, yeah? Downstairs they're having a cup of tea, the manager, so-called manager of Regent's Park Mosque, and the ambassador from the Egypt government. And upstairs, Abu Zadeen was giving a talk. And it's being relayed through the speaker system, because the microphone, it goes everywhere. And he goes, Hosni Munafiq, Hosni Mubarak is a kafir. He needs to have his head removed, you know, all of this, all out takfir going on. And you got the committee member, he said, what's going on upstairs? You make takfir on my king. You know what I mean? On Amir al-Mu'mineen. You know what I mean? So, that's Masjid Darar. So, Rasulullah, he called those people kafir. More than that, let's look to who else from the Salaf they made takfir. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he is hardcore takfiri. Rasulullah said about him, he said if the iman of Abu Bakr was on one scale and the iman of the entire ummah on the other side, the iman of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq would outweigh the iman of the entire ummah. And in Harb al-Ridda, he declared those people who refused to pay the zakah as apostates. And afterwards, when those people have been killed, those people who he said those people who refused to make takfir upon those people who were killed as apostates, he ordered for those people to be punished. He said, if you don't call those people kafir, now you survived, or you made tawbah, or whatever it is, yeah. But if you don't call those people who've been killed inside the ditch now as kafir, then I will punish you. So ta'zir, some capital punishment is going to come, some lashings or some beating is going to come your way. More than that, he fought against Najah. Najah, she was a woman, like this one, Condoleezza Rice, and she claimed to be a prophet. And also, incidentally, just for information, you know the other individual, Musaylama, who claimed to be a prophet, these two people, Najah and Musaylama, they met each other in Yemen. And they said, what are you? He said, I'm a prophet. And then he said, what are you? I'm a prophet as well. They said, okay, let's get married. Both of them, they both got married. Both those false prophets, they both got married. And they both claimed they were nabis, but they're both being killed as well. No, man and woman. There was a woman who claimed to be a prophet. Her name was Najah. and there was a man called Musaylama. So funny incident, both he's I'm a Nabi, let's get married then, innit? You know what I mean? And obviously, I'm sure there's something going on with Condoleezza Rice and Bush as well under the table, but we don't know about that because we don't judge by the apparent. Umar al-Faruq, somebody tough. Umar al-Faruq, he made a takfeer. Anybody who used to misbehave, he used to ask Rasulullah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, just tell me, how should I deal with this person? I'll sort him out. And in fact, Umar al-Faruq, we know when he used to be on the road, and the shaitan used to cross the other side. You see? And every individual they have their own qareen. Their own qareen is their own individual shaitan. Depending upon how much taqwa you have. If you got a high level of taqwa, the shaitan will be far away from you. The shaitan, he might be sitting on your shoulder, dangling his legs. The shaitan, he could be behind you. The shaitan, he could be in front of you. But we never say the shaitan is above you. Only those Deobandis and those Hanafis, they say shaitan is above you. We say no, shaitan is not above you, because Allah is above the whole of the creation. Yeah? So the shaitan, he used to cross the road. And they said when Umar al-Faruq used to walk in the room, the shaitan used to run out. You see? Somebody great. And being reported by Utbah ibn Damrah, he reported that my father told me 2 men came to Rasulullah for arbitration. And we know this incident, we mentioned it a number of times. They came to him for arbitration and they said, we got a problem amongst ourselves, tell us, what your judgment is. Yeah. So he favored one man and they went to Abu Bakr, then they went to Umar, and Allah revealed the ayah, Surah Al-Nisa, verse number 65. And this is talking about the takfeer which Umar al-Faruq he made. Surah Nisa verse number 65, the ayah said, فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ حَتَّى يُحَاكِمُوكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَجِدُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَرْجًا مِمَّا قَضَيْتَ وَيُسَلِّمَ تَسْلِيمًا. Allah said, by your Lord, they are not believers. You see that? When you talk about this Sahaba understanding, the Quran is like a biography of the companions. Which ayah can you go to without talk about a companion? You see how great the companions they are. This verse is regarding Umar al-Faruq, about his takfeer. He said, by your Lord, they are not believers until they refer to you in all their disputes and find no hardship therein, and they must submit fully. And this was regarding what? When the man came to Umar al-Faruq and he said, look, we went to Rasulullah, we went to Abu Bakr, and now we come to you. He said, you come to me, mashallah. You just wait right here, let me go inside my house. Come out with the sword, clip one man's neck off, chop the other one's shoulder. He's running down the street with his shoulder all cut off, coming to Rasulullah saying, Ya Rasulullah, Umar al-Faruq, he tried to kill me. Rasulullah, he said, I never thought a day would come, Umar al-Faruq would try to kill a believer. Allah Azza wa Jalla, he revealed this verse and purified the killing of Umar al-Faruq. And more than that, he didn't just purify, the ayah didn't just purify Umar al-Faruq. You know what Rasulullah did? He hugged him as well. Nice job, good one. That's why I know one brother, Allah bless him, sometimes he does a da'wah stall, and he's the Amir of the stall. If he sees anybody walking past and he insults the Nabi, he just does the nod. And then 2 brothers follow him down the back alley, give him a couple of beatings and just knock him out unconscious. It's like a nice gangster show going on, like a Don, like Mafia Don. He just sits there, he just one, he says, you're a prophet, was a drunk. Is it? Alright. The brothers look at him. Nod. The brothers just follow him down the back alley, give him a couple of punches, knock the kuff out, make sure he's properly unconscious, and he ends up in a coma. And then incidentally, when the guy's talking bad about Islam, the ambulance come, you find out some hijabi, some sister's going to come and take him to the hospital. He hates Islam so much, but what can he do, innit? I remember we were on a stall once, we done a roadshow once, and afterwards, me and Anjum, we were cornered by these kuffar, and so anyway, one brother, Allah bless him, he just made a phone call, he said, we're about to get killed here by some drunks. So some brothers just, they were in a chicken shop around the corner, turned up, and these guys are ready to, chuck bottles, at us anyway, Brothers came in a big, 4x4, whatever it is, pulled up, come out. The guy, Kuf, started running, and he's looking backwards like that. But he should have been looking forward, because he ran into a bus. He ran into a bus, knocked down. And obviously the brothers, they're taking off their kamizis by this time. They've all got their jihadi t-shirts on. And they're running so fast that they have to stop and skid. Like when you skid, you're like stop, oh, he's back there. They run back, and they're booting him in his head, and you see his head is bouncing off the floor, his mobile phone, everything. Then they went to the pub, then they smashed up the entire pub. Obviously I had nothing to do with this or anything like that, but I was like, subhanAllah, that was quite quick, you know what I mean, You know what I mean? On one incident, people are ready to kill. But obviously, Muslim has to stand up for what he believes in, and Muslim, he stands up for the deen of Allah. Another incident of Umar al-Faruq, and this is reported in Sahih Bukhari. This is regarding conquest of Mecca, Fath al-Makkah. When this incident happened, there was one Sahabi known as Hatib ibn Abu Balta. Hatib ibn Abu Balta. What he done was he sent a letter to Mecca warning his family that the Muslims are coming to conquer Mecca. Allah Azza wa Jal, he revealed this incident to the Nabi Muhammad and sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he interrogated Hatib ibn Abu Balta. He found a letter. He found this particular letter and he said, "What's this? What is this?" Yeah. And before the man even had a chance to say anything, Umar al-Faruq, he said, "Ya Rasulullah, give me permission and I'll take off his head." Umar al-Faruq just wants to chop off heads. Anybody's shoulder, anybody who is it, he step out of line, can I take his head off? Can I take his head off? You know, you get someone like that. It's nice to have a brother like that. You know, he's a little bit hot-headed, yeah, but not too hot-headed that he's chucking milkshakes, you know, at people's faces all the time, yeah, inside Chicken Cottage, yeah. We know someone like that, yeah. He's always just looking for a rock, but it's good to have someone tough, you know what I mean, yeah. But I know one other brother, yeah, Allah bless him, he's on a stall once. I don't know what happened. Some brother said something. I don't know. Everyone's like peaceful, peace. Everyone's getting along. Next thing you know, the brother just took a swing. You know, just knocked him out. What happened? He said something about me. I didn't like the way he looked at me. I just knocked him out. You can't do that all the time. Just knocking people out all the time. Yeah. He said, "Ya Rasulullah, give me permission, and I'll just strike his neck." Allah Azza wa Jal, he revealed the ayah purifying Hatib ibn Abu Balta. Meaning, Hatib, he only sent the letter. He said, "I only sent it because I was afraid. I just wanted to protect my family." It was an alliance with the kuffar. People, they used this particular incident to justify joining the British Army and the American Army and joining those Murtadeen army like the Pakistanis. They say, look, at the end of the day, Hatib ibn Abu Balta, he done it, and there's an ayah with regards to that. However, Umar al-Faruq, he said he was ready to kill him. Meaning, Umar al-Faruq, he considered Hatib as a kafir. And that takfeer, it was never dispraised. Rasulullah never said, "Oi, where are you making takfeer for? You're takfiri. Where'd you get ijazah from? Which scholar said so? Did you check what's inside his heart?" So, meaning, what did Umar do here? He made which type of takfeer? Takfeer al-ijtihad. You see now, who made takfeer al-ijtihad? Who from the Salaf made takfeer? With this new incident, this new word you just made up, takfeer al-ijtihad. I'll give you all the takfeer al-ijtihad from the Salaf where they made a takfeer. And after that incident, after that verse came down, Umar al-Faruq, he said, in the past, we made excuse for people. But now that the wahi is complete, we judge by the dahir. Meaning tomorrow if somebody does the same incident, we don't care what's inside your heart. We find you with the disbelievers, you are an apostate and you need to be removed in any which way we can do so. Yeah. So that is number 6. Yeah. Number 7 is Ali ibn Abu Talib. He made takfeer as well. He made takfeer. How? There was a conspiracy by the Yahud, by the Jewish people. That was a bit right. By the time this talk's over, that 2 liters will be finished. The Jews, there was a conspiracy from the Jews where some people started to say Ali ibn Abu Talib, he's a god. Yeah, and Ali ibn Abu Talib, he warned them, but they refused. They carried on calling Ali ibn Abu Talib a god. And what did Ali ibn Abu Talib do? He, radiyallahu anhu, he burnt them to death. If that's not takfeer, then what is then? You don't kill someone unless you consider them a kafir. Because remember we said last time, the Rasulullah said that the Muslim is safe from another Muslim. Not allowed to touch him, not allowed to harm him. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he confirmed this takfeer, but he corrected the method of punishment. Why? Because the hadith of not burning people, not allowed to burn people or torture them, that hadith never reached Ali ibn Abu Talib, but it reached Abdullah ibn Abbas. Ali, he also advised Umar al-Faruq to those people who start to make some ta'wil, they start to legislate on the issue of Khamr. And there were 2 individuals known as Qudama ibn Madhun and Yazid ibn Abi Sufyan. Ali ibn Abu Talib, he advised Umar al-Faruq to kill these 2 particular individuals. Why? Because they made alcohol halal, out their own interpretation anyhow, yeah? So that's Ali ibn Abu Talib. The next one is Khalid bin Waleed. And I'm Abu Waleed, my great-granddad, and your great-granddad as well. Bismillah. Khalid bin Waleed. This is the one who used to say, I'm bringing to you an army who love death the way you love your life. And we heard that the blood of the Romans is very tasty, so we come to drink it. You see, that's Khalid bin Waleed. Khalid bin Waleed, he raided a city of where Musaylima al-Kadhab, he was located. Musaylima was the false prophet. And he captured the leaders from that place. I think this was in Yemen, incidentally. I think it was in Yemen. I might be mistaken though. And he asked those leaders, he said, what do you think of Musaylima? You know what they said? They said, Rasulullah is a Nabi, meaning the Nabi Muhammad is a Nabi, and this man is also a Nabi. He said, kill all of them. Kill all of them. And none from the companions, none of them, they condemned him for his takfir. More than that, when the killing is started, you know what Khalid said? He said, start with one individual known as Maja'a. Who was Maja'a? Maja'a was somebody like our reality today, was living amongst the kuffar when you have no permit to be living amongst the kuffar, and he was captured amongst those same people. Maja'a is somebody who gave the bayatul shajara, the bayah underneath the tree, and his ayahs revealed about that. Those companions who came and they gave the bayah to Rasulullah one by one. You know what Allah said about those people? Allah said, Allah's hand is over their hand. SubhanAllah. This verse, such a beautiful praise of the companions. How much after that, how can anybody say, I don't want to follow Sahabi, maybe he makes a mistake? Who else has got a verse like this revealed about them? That Allah's hand is above their hand. Who else you want to follow? As much as we love the Aimah of Ahl Sunnah, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmed, but who better than the companions? He said, Maja'a, he said to Khalid bin Waleed, he said, Ya Khalid, he said, I'm a Muslim. He said, I never believed in Musaylama except that he was from my tribe. Yeah? He was just from my tribe. Khalid bin Waleed, he said, between freeing you and killing you, there is a middle way. I will imprison you until Allah, He shows me a way. He said, Ya Khalid, he said, you know me. I'm from amongst those people who gave the bayah underneath the tree. He said, what was my crime? It just so happened that he was from my tribe. I just happened to be from the British. I just happened to be stuck amongst them. What on earth are you going to punish me for? Khalid bin Waleed, he said, you know what your crime was? And this is a lesson for us because of our reality today. He said, you never forbid the munkar. You never spoke out against the evil, the munkarat. When people say to us, Aki, what are you shouting about? Why do you want to speak out against the regime? You know why? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, I'm free from the one who chooses to live amongst the mushrikeen. I'm free from the one who does not distinguish his nar, his fire from the fire of the kafir. And Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he said his nar is what? His wala and bara. To live amongst the kuffar is not just about you having a beard and a thobe and just walking around with a miswak and saying yani yani nam nam, meaning you distinguish yourself from the kuffar. How did the companions distinguish themselves from the Quraysh? They commanded good, they forbidden evil, and that is the highest form and method to display your wala and bara. Because you don't go out there and say peaceful, peaceful, peace when you command good, forbid evil. You say you order the ma'ruf, which is absent, which is the tawheed, and you forbid the munkar, which is present, which is democracy, the man-made law, meaning the legislation. In al-hukmu illa lillah. Where is the sharia? There's no sharia being implemented. It needs to be implemented. You can't say, when the Mahdi comes, it will be established. Don't worry, the Muslims, they're fighting inside Afghanistan. Yeah, they're fighting inside Afghanistan. If he dies there, he becomes shaheed. But if you live your life over here like a pig, and just eating and sleeping, and you don't speak nothing, you don't say nothing, to the best of your ability, what kind of life are you living? You see, Maja'a, Rasulullah, Khalid, he said, your crime is that you never forbid the evil. You never spoke out against the munkar. He said there were people who were better than you in terms of their rank from the tribe of Musaylama, from that particular region. Still, those people, they spoke out and they were never silent, even though they're being killed. And he said, look, I was scared. I was frightened. I was afraid about terrorism laws. I was afraid they might arrest me. I was afraid that the mosque might call me, extremist, fundamentalist. He said, if you were afraid, why didn't you write a letter to me? There were people amongst you, they spoke out and they were killed. There were other people who, they were scared and they wrote a letter to me. You didn't write a letter to me. Yeah? And Khalid bin Waleed, he was treated as a murtad. What is a dispute on this particular incident is the ulama, they cannot agree upon what happened to Maja'a. Some people, they say that he was lashed. Other people, they say that he was killed as a murtad for living amongst the mushrikeen, for living amongst the disbelievers. SubhanAllah, huge implication for us. I know I'm going maybe a little bit off the topic, but Khalid bin Waleed, he made takfeer upon Maja'a. Number 9 is the wives of the Prophet. My God, the wives of the Prophet make takfeer. Yeah, the wives of the Prophet. One man, he made hijrah to Abyssinia, and he was a Muslim. But when he went to Abyssinia, he became a Christian. His wife, she made takfeer on her husband. You see that? She made takfeer on her husband. And afterwards, she married Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. People today, you're takfeer. Only Allah can decide who is the kafir. Yeah, Allah is the one who does decide who is the kafir. But who's the ones who are going to implement that particular hukum now? Yeah, in accordance to the reality. So the wives of Rasulullah, the wives of Rasulullah, they made takfeer. Also, the Sahaba, they made takfeer in battle of Badr. Yeah, I mentioned all of this anyway about those people who allied with the kuffar. That's point number 10. Also the tabi'een. The tabi'een, they made takfir. Scholars such as Tawus, Waleed bin Muslim. If you write all of these down, it'll be very useful for you. Tawus, Waleed bin Muslim, Sa'id bin Jubair, Sa'id bin Musayyib. Sa'id bin Musayyib, he is one of the top tabi'een. They said he met a lot of companions, he met a lot of Sahaba. Who did they make takfir upon? You're wondering now. They made takfir on an individual known as Al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf. They made takfir upon him. Why? Because when he was having a discussion with Sa'id ibn Jubair, he started to describe himself like Allah. Those scholars from the Tabi'een, they didn't hesitate and they called Hajjaj bin Yusuf kafir. And more than that, Tawus, he's a great Tabi'i. He started to dispraise those people who did not make takfir on Hajjaj. He said, strange how people in Iraq can call Hajjaj bin Yusuf a Muslim. Yeah? And Al-Shi'bi, he's one of the Tabi'een. He said a very nice one. You know, we say we make kufr in Taghut and have Iman billah. He said Hajjaj is a mu'min in Taghut and kafir in Iman. Yeah? So he made takfir upon him. Yeah? The last point is the later scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they made takfir. For example, they made takfir upon the following individuals being declared as kafir. Bin Arabi, he's been killed. He was declared as a kafir. Jahm bin Safwan, the Tartars, those people, they occupied some of Baghdad and they believed in Islam, but they started to mix the law of Yasik during the time of Ibn Taymiyyah. They been called kafir. Fatimis. The Fatimis are the people who used to swear at the Sahaba. Ibn Taymiyyah, he called them kafir, and Salahuddin Ayyubi, he also fought against them. Ibn al-Alqami. Ibn al-Alqami is the one who allied with one individual known as Ulaka, and they entered Baghdad, and Ibn Kathir, he called him kafir. Ibn Kathir, he called Ibn al-Alqami a kafir. He is somebody who allied with the kuffar. Ahmed Rida Khan, a lot of people from the Talafis, they considered him to be kafir. Whether or not they applied that takfir mu'ayn is a different story, because they can't mention a single person who they call as a kafir, because they're murjis. Mirza Ghulam Ahmed, all Muslims, at least you agree upon that one, innit? If someone is going to argue with you, you can't call anybody kafir. What about Mirza Ghulam Ahmed, the founder of Qadianism, yeah, of the Ahmadiyya, the people who believe this man is another prophet? At least people will call him a kafir. All Qadianis kafir. And Durzis. Durzis are people inside Lebanon. They are people who say we're Muslim, but actually they believe in Christianity and Judaism. And you can find them inside Lebanon. People, they make takfir upon that. So all you want to have in your mind after studying this particular module is that takfir is not a bid'ah. Takfir is not a bid'ah, it's not something evil, because if you don't make the takfir, as we said previously, you'll dismantle the entire sharia. All people, they want to do to you nowadays is they want to mix up the issue of takfir al-hawa and takfir al-ijtihad and try to make you frightened from making takfir. Aki, don't make takfir. Takfir is only for the ulama. Who from the salaf made takfir? Who gave you ijazah to make takfir? This is a new thing. This is from the Khawarij. How do you call someone Khawarij just like that? You're Khariji, you make takfir. Is it? Is that the only thing, the Khawarij? Tell me my aqidah then. Now, all I know is you are Khariji. Who said so? Abu Kamina. Who's Abu Kamina? Abu Khadija. Yeah, he said so. Yeah, the AK up in Birmingham, he said it. AK said it. So AK said I'm from the Khawarij. Has he even checked? Doesn't even know who I am. You know what I mean? Yeah, all Khawarij, all Khawarij. Yeah, all Khawarij. It's so loose like that. Never even heard of a person. There's Sheikh Fulana Fulan. Is he? Never heard of him. He's a Khariji. At least verify. Don't verify with a person. Check it. You know what I mean? So this is what we find nowadays. The next topics which we're going to study, we're going to have a short break, is we need to study the reality of Iman. What is Iman between Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Khawarij and the Murji'ah. And that is what we're going to study. We're just going to study what is Iman. That's going to be our next topic. But just to let you know exactly what we're going to study throughout the duration. What is the rest of the course about? The reality of Iman between Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the Khawarij and the Murji'ah. What is Irja? That's a massive topic on its own, and I will go through examples of present day scholars, in fact, who have this particular irja, where they, if you read their action, and I'll give you quotations from their own cassettes and from their own tapes and from their own books, where they make the separation of action from iman and limit the iman just inside the heart, and I'll prove that accordingly. How do we judge a person's iman? Someone will say we can't judge the person's kufr action, we have to judge the person's heart. How do you know what's inside his heart? And that's a big disease which stems from those murjiyah today. And then the elaboration and conditions before passing the takfeer, meaning the mawani at takfeer. Yeah, so those conditions before you pronounce the takfeer. So we'll have a short break. Wa sallallahu Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, and in a short while we will study al-iman.